Have you ever looked at the hands of an 80-year-old man? They tell a story that words often cannot. The skin, a delicate map of decades past, is etched with the lines of laughter and worry, of hard work and quiet rest. Those hands might have once built a house, held a newborn child with trembling awe, or gripped a steering wheel on a cross-country adventure. Now they might move with a little more deliberation, a little less certainty, but they still hold a lifetime of wisdom. We often view the 80th birthday as a stark milestone, a doorway into an inevitable and rapid decline. We paint pictures of frailty, confusion, and a quiet retreat from the world. But the reality is infinitely more nuanced, a complex tapestry woven from threads of resilience, adaptation, and profound change. When a man crosses the threshold into his 80s, his body and mind begin to send out a series of signals. These are not sudden alarms, but quiet, persistent messages that tell a deeper story about the journey of aging, the nature of independence, and the very essence of a long life. You might see two men of the same age, say 82, living vastly different lives. One, like a weathered but sturdy oak, still stands tall, his mind sharp and his spirit engaged. Another may seem to be fading, his steps hesitant, his world shrinking. The difference between them is rarely a matter of simple luck or genetic destiny. Instead, it is often found in the lifelong patterns of health, the strength of their connections, and their response to the signals their bodies are sending. In this deep dive, we will explore 7 of the most significant things that truly happen when a man turns 80. This isn't based on stereotypes or anecdotal tales, but on patterns observed and confirmed by geriatric specialists, psychologists, and the countless families who have walked this path alongside a father, a grandfather, or a friend. By understanding these shifts, you will gain a clear and compassionate roadmap for what to expect, whether for yourself or for someone you love dearly. More importantly, you will discover the powerful steps that can be taken to ensure these later years are not defined by loss, but are instead filled with strength, meaning, and dignity. Stay with us through this entire exploration, because the 7th and final point is perhaps the most profound and unexpected of all. It has the power to fundamentally reshape how you view the entire aging process. Once you recognize these 7 truths, you will be equipped not just with knowledge, but with the wisdom to navigate this chapter of life with grace and confidence. One of the most immediate and tangible changes that manifests in a man's 80s is a discernible decline in raw physical strength. This isn't merely about the inability to lift a heavy piece of furniture or win an arm wrestling match against a grandchild. It's a more subtle, pervasive shift that affects the very fabric of daily life. It's the slight hesitation before pushing up out of a comfortable armchair, the extra effort required to carry a bag of groceries from the car to the kitchen, or the feeling that a simple walk around the block now requires a period of recovery. This phenomenon, known to scientists as sarcopenia, is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function. While it begins much earlier in life, its effects often accelerate dramatically after the age of 80, making every physical task feel as though it's being performed with a weighted vest on. The body's ability to repair and build muscle tissue slows, and recovery times after exertion or a minor illness stretch from days into weeks. To understand this in human terms, consider the lives of 2 neighbors, Arthur and Bill, both 81. Arthur has maintained a simple but consistent routine for years. He spends an hour in his garden each morning, pulling weeds and tending to his tomatoes, a gentle form of resistance training. He walks his small dog twice a day, a non-negotiable ritual that keeps his legs strong and his joints mobile. When his grandchildren visit, he can still lift the younger ones for a hug, his grip firm and reassuring. His steps are measured but steady. Bill, on the other hand, fell into a more sedentary lifestyle after retiring from his desk job. He spends most of his days in his favorite recliner, watching television or reading. He drives to the corner store for his newspaper, a distance he once walked without a second thought. He struggles to open a tight jar of pickles and finds himself breathless after climbing the single flight of stairs to his bedroom. The stark difference in their physical capacity isn't because Arthur is lucky. It's because he has consistently sent a signal to his muscles that they are still needed. This erosion of strength is far more than an inconvenience. It is a critical signal that can foreshadow a cascade of other challenges. Weaker leg and core muscles dramatically increase the risk of falls, which for an octogenarian can be a life-altering event, leading to fractures, hospitalization, and a significant loss of confidence. A weaker body has a diminished reserve to fight off illness, turning a common cold or a bout of flu into a serious health crisis. The simple fatigue that accompanies reduced stamina can become a powerful disincentive to socialize, to engage in hobbies, or to participate in family events, slowly chipping away at a man's connection to the world. If you found this first insight helpful as a foundation for understanding this stage of life, and you're committed to learning how to navigate it, please comment with the number 1 below to let us know you're on this journey with us. Yet, amidst this reality, there lies a profound and hopeful truth. The body, even in its 9th decade, remains remarkably responsive. Geriatric researchers and physical therapists emphasize that the decline in muscle strength is not an irreversible verdict. The body still adapts to activity, even if that activity is gentler and more modified than what was possible in younger years. The goal is not to train for a marathon, but to preserve function and independence. Simple, consistent movements can work wonders. Chair exercises, using resistance bands while watching the news, or practicing standing up and sitting down without using one's hands can rebuild crucial leg strength. Lifting small hand weights or even cans of soup can help maintain upper body and grip strength. These small, deliberate acts of resistance send a powerful message to the body. We are not done yet. They not only fortify the muscles, but also enhance balance, boost mood, and protect the precious independence that defines a dignified life. Another fundamental shift that becomes more apparent when a man enters his 80s involves the intricate workings of the mind. Many men and their families begin to notice changes in cognitive function. This can be a source of great anxiety as the specter of dementia looms large in our cultural consciousness. However, what is often experienced is not the onset of a devastating disease, but rather a natural evolution in how the brain processes, stores, and retrieves information. It might take a moment longer to recall the name of a familiar actor, or one might walk into a room and forget why they went there. Keeping track of multiple details in a fast-paced conversation can feel more challenging. Neurologists explain this not as a failure of the mind, but as a change in its operating system. Processing speed naturally slows, short-term or working memory can become less reliable, and the ability to multitask effectively diminishes. At the same time, something remarkable is often happening. While the brain may be slower at retrieving recent, trivial data, its vast repository of long-term memories, life experiences, and accumulated knowledge remains incredibly robust. This is the foundation of wisdom. An 82-year-old man may not remember what he had for breakfast, but he can offer a nuanced, insightful perspective on a complex family problem, drawing from a deep well of experience that a younger person simply does not possess. Think of two old friends, George and Sam. George, at 83, sometimes gets frustrated when he misplaces his reading glasses for the third time in a day or forgets a scheduled coffee date. However, he has learned to adapt. He keeps a small notepad in his pocket for important reminders and has a designated bowl by the door for his keys and wallet. When his daughter calls him, worried about a career decision, George listens patiently and then shares a story from his own working life 40 years ago, offering a piece of advice so clear and wise it cuts right to the heart of the issue. His family relies on his judgment, seeing his mind not as failing, but as a treasured library of life. Sam, on the other hand, has reacted to his own memory lapses with fear and denial. He brushes them off as unimportant, but they are beginning to impact his life in more serious ways. He has forgotten to take his blood pressure medication on several occasions and struggles to follow the plot of a new movie, causing him to withdraw from conversations about it. His frustration turns inward, making him irritable and isolated. His family's concern, which he perceives as nagging, only adds to his stress, creating a negative feedback loop that further impacts his cognitive state. These cognitive shifts are crucial signals. When they are frequent or disruptive, they warrant attention, as they could be related to underlying issues like vitamin deficiencies, medication side effects, or poor sleep. Ignoring them can increase the risk of accidents, financial mistakes, and a growing dependence on others. But awareness opens the door to proactive measures that can support and even enhance mental sharpness. Have you ever witnessed this beautiful paradox in an older loved one? The occasional forgetfulness paired with an incredible depth of wisdom. Share your story in the comments below. These experiences enrich our collective understanding. The positive news, which is consistently reinforced by neuroscience, is that the brain maintains a remarkable capacity for adaptation, or plasticity, well into the 80s and beyond. It is not a static organ destined to decay. Engaging in mentally stimulating activities creates and strengthens neural pathways. This doesn't have to mean solving complex calculus problems. It can be as simple as doing the daily crossword puzzle, reading a book on a subject you know nothing about, learning how to use a tablet to video chat with grandchildren, or playing a game of cards or chess. Social engagement itself is a powerful brain exercise, requiring one to listen, process, and respond in real time. Furthermore, the link between physical and mental health is undeniable. Regular physical activity, even a simple daily walk, improves blood flow to the brain, delivering vital oxygen and nutrients that support clearer thinking. Staying curious, staying engaged, and staying connected are not just pleasant pastimes. They are essential strategies for keeping the mind as resilient as possible for as long as possible. One of the most common yet frequently overlooked realities men face after turning 80 is a significant alteration in their sleep patterns. The deep, uninterrupted slumber of youth often becomes a distant memory, replaced by a more fragmented and delicate nightly rest. Nights can feel shorter, punctuated by more frequent awakenings. It may become harder to fall asleep in the first place and even harder to return to sleep after waking up at 3 a.m. Men often find they spend less time in the deep, restorative stages of sleep and more time in lighter, less refreshing stages. Gerontologists explain that this is due to natural changes in our internal body clock, or circadian rhythms, which can become less robust with age. The body's production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, also tends to decrease. This biological shift is often compounded by other factors common in this age group, such as chronic pain, the need to use the bathroom during the night due to prostate issues, or side effects from various medications. Let's imagine two brothers, Walter and David, both in their early 80s. Walter, aware of his changing sleep, has proactively cultivated good sleep hygiene. He maintains a consistent bedtime and wake-up time, even on weekends. He avoids caffeine after lunch and heavy meals in the evening. He makes a point to get some morning sunlight by sitting on his porch, which helps regulate his circadian rhythm. His wind-down routine involves turning off the television an hour before bed and reading a chapter of a book. While his sleep is certainly lighter than it was at 50, he typically manages a solid 6 or 7 hours and wakes up feeling reasonably rested and ready for the day. David, however, has fallen into a different pattern. He often dozes off in his armchair while watching the evening news, which disrupts his nighttime sleep drive. He then finds himself tossing and turning in bed, his mind racing. He might get up several times, turning on lights and wandering into the kitchen, further fragmenting his rest. He wakes in the morning feeling groggy and drained, a persistent fatigue that colors his entire day, making him less likely to be active or engaged. This shift in sleep is not merely an inconvenience, it is a critical health signal. Chronic poor sleep can have a profound impact on nearly every system in the body. It can impair memory and cognitive function, leading to brain fog and difficulty concentrating. It can weaken the immune system, making one more susceptible to infections. It also affects mood, often contributing to irritability or feelings of depression. Critically, the daytime drowsiness that results from poor sleep significantly increases the risk of falls and accidents. Many men simply resign themselves to restless nights, believing it's an unavoidable part of getting older. But researchers warn that untreated sleep problems are not benign. They can quietly accelerate physical and cognitive decline. If this deep dive into the realities of aging is providing you with valuable insights, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is what allows us to continue creating content that informs and empowers our community. The encouraging message is that better sleep is almost always attainable. It begins with recognizing that sleep is a priority, not a luxury. Simple behavioral changes can make a world of difference. Creating a sleep sanctuary, a bedroom that is cool, dark, and quiet, is a crucial first step. Limiting long daytime naps, especially in the late afternoon, can help consolidate sleep at night. Establishing a relaxing pre-sleep ritual, such as listening to calming music, gentle stretching, or practicing deep breathing exercises, can signal to the body and mind that it's time to wind down. It is also vital to consult with a doctor to rule out or treat underlying medical conditions like sleep apnea, a common disorder in which breathing repeatedly stops and starts, which severely disrupts sleep and can have serious cardiovascular consequences. Paying close attention to sleep is not just about feeling more comfortable at night. It's about shoring up the very foundation of your physical and mental health for the years ahead. As men advance into their 80s, another significant internal shift often occurs in the realms of appetite and digestion. The joy and anticipation once associated with mealtime can begin to fade. Hunger signals, once so clear and demanding, may become weaker and less frequent. Foods that were once favorites may lose some of their flavor or appeal. Doctors specializing in geriatric care note that this is a multifaceted issue. Metabolism naturally slows down with age, meaning the body requires fewer calories to maintain its weight. The senses of taste and smell, which are crucial components of enjoying food, can dull over time. Furthermore, various medications can alter taste perceptions or cause side effects like dry mouth or nausea, making eating feel more like a chore than a pleasure. Consequently, some men begin to eat significantly less than their bodies need to maintain strength and health, while others may gravitate towards highly processed, convenient foods that lack essential nutrients. Consider the contrasting approaches of Frank and Leo, both 80 years old. Frank, a widower who lives alone, makes a conscious effort to nourish himself well. He may not have the large appetite of his youth, so he focuses on smaller, nutrient-dense meals throughout the day. He might have oatmeal with berries for breakfast, a hearty vegetable soup for lunch, and a small piece of grilled salmon with sweet potato for dinner. He uses herbs and spices liberally to enhance the flavor of his food, compensating for his diminished sense of taste. His energy levels remain relatively stable, and he maintains a healthy weight. Leo, however, has largely lost interest in cooking and eating. He often skips breakfast, relying on coffee to get him through the morning. Lunch might be a few crackers with cheese, and dinner is often a canned meal or a frozen pizza. He has unintentionally lost a noticeable amount of weight over the past year. His children express their concern, but he dismisses it, saying he's just not hungry. What Leo doesn't fully appreciate is that his poor nutrition is actively contributing to his growing weakness, slowing his recovery from a minor cut on his leg, and making him more vulnerable to the next seasonal virus. This change in appetite is a signal that goes far beyond the dinner plate. It is directly linked to vitality and resilience. Inadequate protein intake accelerates the process of muscle loss, sarcopenia, we discussed earlier. Without sufficient vitamins and minerals, the immune system cannot function optimally, and mood can be negatively affected. Dehydration also becomes a much greater risk as the sensation of thirst diminishes with age. Many older men simply do not feel thirsty, even when their bodies are in desperate need of fluids, leading to dizziness, confusion, and an increased risk of falls. If you are finding these insights valuable and they are helping you connect the dots about healthy aging, please comment with the number 4 below. It's encouraging to know this information is resonating with you. The good news is that with awareness and small adjustments, eating can once again become an effective and even enjoyable part of life. Instead of 3 large meals, focusing on 5 or 6 smaller, nutrient-rich mini meals or snacks can be less daunting and more effective. Choosing foods packed with nutrition, like eggs, Greek yogurt, beans, nuts, and colorful vegetables, ensures that every bite counts. As mentioned, using lemon juice, vinegar, herbs, and spices can awaken tired taste buds. Turning mealtime into a social event by eating with family or friends whenever possible can also powerfully rekindle a lagging appetite. And making a conscious habit of drinking water or other fluids throughout the day, even when not feeling thirsty, is one of the simplest yet most important things a man in his 80s can do for his overall health. It's about viewing food and water not just as fuel, but as medicine that maintains strength, clarity, and independence. When a man reaches his 80s, his emotional resilience is often put to the test in ways he may not have encountered before. This chapter of life inevitably brings a unique set of challenges: the loss of a spouse, siblings, or close friends, coping with chronic health conditions, or adjusting to changes in physical independence. These experiences can stir up powerful feelings of grief, frustration, anxiety, or a profound loneliness that can feel overwhelming. Some men may find themselves becoming more irritable over small things, while others battle a quiet sense of despair. Yet, at the same time, this stage of life also offers a profound capacity for a deeper perspective, acceptance, and an emotional fortitude born from a lifetime of weathering storms. Many men in their 80s respond to adversity with a surprising and admirable calm and wisdom. Let's look at Henry and Robert, both 83. Henry has faced his share of struggles, including the loss of his wife 2 years ago and a recent diagnosis of arthritis that limits his mobility. However, he has learned to actively manage his emotional well-being. He talks openly about his grief with his daughter, finding comfort in shared memories. He has taken up a new hobby, building model ships, which gives him a sense of purpose and focus. When he feels a wave of anxiety about his health, he practices slow, deep breathing exercises he learned years ago. His family sees him not as a man defeated by his circumstances, but as a pillar of quiet strength. Robert, in contrast, carries his burdens in silence. He deeply grieves the loss of several old army buddies, but never speaks of it. He internally stews over his health fears and feels overwhelmed by daily frustrations like a misplaced bill. His family notices his mood has grown consistently somber, and he has withdrawn from activities he once enjoyed. The immense weight of his unspoken stress is beginning to take a physical toll, affecting his sleep and his appetite. Emotional resilience at 80 is not about being stoic or ignoring difficult feelings. It is about how one processes and responds to them. Men who tend to bottle up their emotions or allow chronic stress and worry to dominate their thoughts often experience a more rapid decline in their overall health. The physiological effects of chronic stress are well documented. It raises blood pressure, elevates stress hormones like cortisol, weakens the immune system, and disrupts sleep. On the other hand, men who cultivate healthy coping mechanisms, who learn to adapt, to express their feelings, and to lean on supportive relationships, often discover a renewed sense of strength and peace of mind. Have you noticed how some older individuals seem to handle life's challenges with such grace? It's a skill that can be developed. If you feel it's time to build your own pathways to resilience, share your thoughts on what helps you cope in the comments. The encouraging truth is that resilience is a muscle that can be strengthened at any age. It is never too late to learn new ways of coping. For some, this might mean talking more openly with trusted friends or family members, realizing that sharing a burden can cut its weight in half. For others, it might involve engaging in practices like meditation, prayer, or spending time in nature, which can help quiet a racing mind and foster a sense of perspective. Engaging in hobbies that bring joy and a sense of accomplishment is also a powerful antidote to feelings of helplessness. For burdens that feel too heavy to carry alone, seeking support from a counselor or a faith leader can be a transformative step. The key is to make a conscious choice not to dwell on what cannot be changed, thereby freeing up precious mental and emotional energy to focus on the things that can still bring meaning, connection, and fulfillment to each day. By the time a man celebrates his 80th birthday, one of the most poignant and observable changes is often the shrinking of his social circle. The vast network of colleagues from his working years has long since dissipated. Friends and peers from his youth and middle age may have moved away to be closer to their own children, become limited by their own health challenges, or passed away. While close family often remains a vital source of support, the day-to-day fabric of casual friendships and community connections can become alarmingly thin. Without conscious and sustained effort, this natural winnowing process can lead to profound feelings of isolation and disconnection from the world. Gerontological research consistently and overwhelmingly highlights a direct link between social isolation and poorer health outcomes. Loneliness is not just a sad feeling, it is a significant health risk. Consider the divergent paths of Eugene and Walter, both 80. Eugene, though he misses many of his departed friends dearly, makes a deliberate effort to remain connected. He has a standing phone call with his younger brother every Wednesday morning. He attends a small men's Bible study group at his church once a week, not just for the spiritual discussion, but for the camaraderie and laughter. He even ventures to the local senior center for their monthly pancake breakfast. He has learned the names of his mail carrier and his next-door neighbors, and he exchanges a friendly word with them whenever he can. His life is filled with conversation. Walter, however, has slowly retreated into his own home. He finds phone calls to be an effort and rarely initiates them. He has declined invitations to community gatherings, telling himself he prefers the quiet. As the months turn into years, he can go for days without having a meaningful conversation with anyone besides the checkout clerk at the grocery store. Without the stimulation and accountability of social contact, his health and his spirit have both begun to dim. The danger of a shrinking social world is multifaceted. The emotional pain of loneliness is real, but the physiological consequences are just as severe. Studies have shown that chronic loneliness can be as detrimental to one's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It has been linked to an increased risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, cognitive decline, and depression. When a man loses his social ties, he may also lose the motivation to stay active, to prepare healthy meals, or to adhere to his daily routines, since there is no one there to share in his life or to notice if things are amiss. What often begins as a simple, quiet preference for solitude can insidiously become one of the greatest threats to longevity and a dignified old age. If you are still with us and finding these insights valuable, please take a moment to comment with the number 6 below. It helps us know you're engaged and finding this journey worthwhile. But just as with the other challenges of this decade, there is hope and a clear path forward. Social connections can be protected, nurtured, and even rebuilt. It requires shifting from a passive to a proactive mindset. It can start with small, manageable steps, picking up the phone to call a family member instead of waiting for them to call, accepting an invitation that one might have otherwise declined, or simply making eye contact and saying hello to people in the neighborhood. Community centers, libraries, veterans groups, and places of worship offer a wealth of low-key social engagement centered around shared interests. Even embracing simple technology, like learning to use a smartphone or tablet for video calls, can be a powerful tool to bridge geographical distances and maintain face-to-face connections with loved ones. The essential takeaway is that at 80, relationships are not a luxury item. They are a fundamental necessity for health, happiness, and a meaningful life. When a man enters his 80s, one of the most profound and often unspoken transformations occurs not in his body, but in his soul. There is a sharpening of perspective, a shift in focus from the day-to-day urgencies of life to the larger questions of meaning, contribution, and legacy. The preoccupation with personal achievements, career ambitions, and material accumulation begins to recede, replaced by a deep, contemplative reflection on the life that has been lived. Men at this stage often think more about the values they have instilled in their children, the lessons they have shared, the impact they have had on their community, and how they will be remembered when they are gone. This is not a morbid obsession with the end, but rather a natural and defining feature of aging with wisdom. Psychologists refer to this as legacy thinking, and it is a powerful force that helps older adults find a sense of peace, purpose, and completion, even in the face of mounting health challenges. Imagine two final men, Arthur and Dennis, both 84. Arthur spends quiet afternoons writing down stories from his childhood and his time in the service, creating a small book for his grandchildren. He takes his teenage grandson into his workshop to show him how to use his old tools, passing on not just a skill, but a piece of himself. He speaks openly with his children about his values, what truly mattered to him in life, and his hopes for their futures. His family feels an immense sense of gratitude, knowing that his wisdom and his essence will continue to guide them long after he is gone. Arthur himself feels a deep sense of calm and connectedness. Dennis, however, has always been a private man and finds these conversations uncomfortable. He deflects questions about the past and never speaks of what he hopes to leave behind. His family is left feeling uncertain about his wishes and disconnected from his inner world. Over time, a quiet restlessness grows within Dennis, a feeling that something is left unfinished, while Arthur rests in the peace of having shared his story. A legacy is not about great wealth, fame or monumental achievements. For most people, a legacy is found in the small, consistent acts of a lifetime. It is the example of integrity shown in business dealings, the unwavering support offered to a spouse, the lessons of kindness and resilience taught to children, or the simple dependability of being a good neighbor. Men who consciously embrace this perspective and take steps to articulate their legacy often find a renewed sense of energy and purpose. It gives context and meaning to their entire existence. On the other hand, men who avoid this reflection can sometimes be plagued by a sense of regret in their final years, wishing they had said more, shared more, or left behind something more tangible of their spirit. Have you thought about the stories, values, or lessons you most want to leave for the people you love? It's a powerful question for any age. There is no better time than the present to begin shaping that legacy, because turning 80 is not just about the number of years lived. It is about making every one of those years count in the lives of those who will carry your memory forward. Now that we have walked through these 7 significant realities of a man's life in his 80s, take a moment to reflect. Perhaps some of these signposts feel deeply familiar. You may have noticed a loved one's physical strength waning or their memory becoming a little less sharp. Maybe you've seen the changes in sleep, the shrinking appetite, or watched as their social world has narrowed. You might have witnessed their emotional resilience being tested, or seen them begin to contemplate the meaning of their years. Each of these shifts is a chapter in the story of aging, but not a single one of them dictates a final, inevitable outcome of decline and loss. The most important truth to carry with you is this: awareness grants us power. It transforms us from passive observers of aging into active, compassionate participants. A decline in muscle strength can be met with gentle, daily exercises. Memory lapses can be supported with cognitive challenges and social engagement. Restless nights can be improved with steady routines and a peaceful environment. A flagging appetite can be rekindled with flavorful, nutrient-dense foods and the joy of shared meals. Emotional trials can be navigated with openness and connection. A shrinking social circle can be expanded through simple, proactive outreach. And a meaningful legacy can be intentionally shaped with every story told, every lesson shared, and every act of kindness offered. Turning 80 is not the end of the road. It is an entry into a unique and venerable stage of life, one where wisdom, perspective, and experience become your greatest assets. The choices made today, the choice to move, to learn, to connect, to share, will profoundly influence the quality, dignity, and meaning of all the tomorrows that are yet to come. Thank you for joining us on this in-depth exploration today. We would be honored to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one insight you learned today and how you might apply it in your own life or in your relationship with an older loved one. Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly valuable to our community, so please don't hesitate to share. Reading your comments provides us with immense motivation and encouragement. If you found this video helpful and meaningful, please show your support by giving it a like, subscribing to our channel, and sharing it with others who might benefit. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.